afternoon, everyone. This is Reyes Ramirez with Fresh Arts. I am the Programs Outreach Coordinator. If you don't know what Fresh Arts is, we are a nonprofit arts organization primarily based out of Houston, Texas. So if you have heard of us, thank you for coming back. If you haven't, well, you're in for a treat. For the last week or so, we've been doing the series of interviews on Facebook Live where we talk to local Houston arts leaders, especially in the context of the COVID-19 crisis. It's forced Fresh Arts to certainly adapt and find ways to still deliver content, but also development and hopefully some enrichment to your lives as artists. And today will be no different. We have a great lineup. But before that, I just want to say thank you for tuning in. If you've been tuning in, thank you so much. It really means a lot to us. And we hope that you've been getting things out of this. So today we have some amazing guests from different kind of walks of life and different disciplines to really give you those different perspectives, especially in the context of the COVID-19 crisis and how different artists are surviving during these times. So up first we have Dominique Royem, we have Edgar Medina, and we have Nick Gaitan. Nick Gaitan is having a bit of issues with their technology, so we'll give him a minute. But for now, I'm going to go ahead and start, and I'm going to ask some very basic questions just to give some context, and then we'll get more, as the conversation rolls along, we'll get more into the current context. So, first question, it's kind of always a softball question, but again, just to get people to know our guests. Dominique, could you introduce yourself and give an overview of your usual creative practice?
So I stand in front of a large group of people and wave my arms to make music. So I control the inspiration behind the music as it goes on. And usually my art practice has to do with concerts. So there are lots of people in attendance to all of these things, which is something we can't do now.
Awesome. Could you speak a little bit who you do that with and how long you've been doing it? Maybe some background to how you got to that point?
Sure. I'm the music director of Fort Bend Symphony Orchestra out in Sugar Land, Texas. I've been their music director for 5 years. We do a season of 6 concerts each year for subscription to free community concerts every year. I got into conducting through my undergraduate degree. I did a little conducting on the side, and I had an older gentleman come up to me and say, "We're going to copy you. You're going to do this full time." So I kind of got rooted into conducting during my music degree. But now I work with the Fort Bend Symphony Orchestra, as I said, as their music director. So yeah, and it's been a great orchestra to make music with.
Awesome. Thank you. Edgar, could you also do the same? Could you please introduce yourself and give an overview of your usual practice?
I'm an abstract artist. My creative practice, I guess, I have a studio in the Montrose area, so I create my art in my work studio, but I also have a showroom where I display all my works 7 days a week, and I'm not as involved with a lot of people all the time, but there is some projects that I'm involved that require me to be with a large group of people, as well as sometimes when I'm in the showroom, I deal with customers as well.
Awesome. Could you give a little bit of your background, maybe when you started painting, what drew you to painting? Um, yeah.
Yeah, well, a little bit of my background. I've always been a creative person, but it's been about 10 years since I started doing art as a full time artist. And I guess about the same time where we have the showroom and where I display all my works. How I started, I mean, I guess I was being a creative person since I was a kid, and I always knew that I wanted to do something related with art as my career. And one thing led to another, and I started showing my works in different retail spaces. And next thing you know, I was in a gallery, and yeah, well, it's been about 10 years or almost 11 years by now.
That's great. Uh, so, kind of going on that line of thought, um, Dominique, could you maybe talk a little bit about um, maybe how varied or what different income streams you have? So, to kind of set that question, it's like it's not uncommon for artists to have multiple income streams from their creative practice. Can you maybe give like an overview of like what your usual different streams of income have been, or maybe how it was in the past and it developed into the way you are now in terms of being a conductor for a really great orchestra?
Sure. As a conductor, I'm also an educator. That's what a lot of conductors are as well. So, on top of the money that I get from conducting the Fort Bend Symphony Orchestra, so lecture at the Institute of Houston. Um, I have one class every semester talking about music. In some kind of way. One of the popular classes is about musical theater because I did my dissertation on musical theater and opera in the Golden Age. So we get together once a week for 2 hours to talk about music and all, musical theater and opera and all those wonderful things. I also have a small business, which is called Axline Gray Communications, where I help people with their social media. So it's a social media management company.
Nice. Edgar, same question. It's again not uncommon for artists to have multiple income streams from their creative practice. Can you also go into a little bit of your types of income streams, maybe what's happened in the past, maybe the ones that you're doing now?
Right. Well, very common. I mean, we all have to. Being an artist is not. It's a while to get to the point where you can say that you're. I mean, I want to say necessarily successful, but to say that you can make a living of what in as being an artist. But as part of the having another income, I own a furniture store in the Montrose area. So that is another way that I was having an extra income. So I basically married my two passions, which is the art and the furniture. I get to display my work in the studio, and what I was doing before, or where I guess right now too, is we do a lot of design projects that it also exposed me to potential art sales and commissions.
Cool. Yeah. I mean, I'm actually a writer, and it's been in times in my life where I've been an educator, I've been an editor. Maybe I've worked part time somewhere at a gallery, but then also made a little bit of money off of my writing. And so the reason why I asked that question is because that is kind of the normal for a lot of artists. In the usual
Right.
before the crisis, right, where we had different income streams, everyone's doing different things to, like either make ends meet or have
Yeah.
that extra income to be able to do your practice. But now with the current COVID-19 crisis, in many ways, that's not normal anymore. Or
Right.
it's all been thrown off kilter. And so, Dominique, could you talk a little bit about how the COVID-19 crisis has impacted those income streams, and in what ways have you had to maybe pause, change, adapt your creative practice?
Sure. Well, the semester for the Women's Institute of Houston has been canceled because it's a leisure learning activity that usually has retired people as their main student body. They decided that they didn't want to open up their students to any kind of COVID-19 fears, so they canceled the semester. I've actually started a new project where I put together educational music videos on YouTube. So I sit down and I lecture for about 5 or 10 minutes about a topic in music theory or music history, and I put together the video with Final Cut Pro, and then I launch it to YouTube, where it's monetized through Patreon. So that way, my supporters can then help me support doing these videos. This is something completely new that I started for the COVID crisis. So it's still in its infancy stages.
I'll definitely ask some follow-up questions the next part, because that is really cool. That's really interesting that you've come to adapt that. But I'll ask a follow-up question. But let me pose that same question to Edgar as well. How has the COVID-19 crisis impacted your income streams, and how have you had to pause, change, and or adapt your creative practice?
Well, it's definitely been a big impact right now because we have a brick and mortar space, so right now we have to close down for the last, I guess now we're going in the second week. We were ordered by the city of Houston to close the showroom, because we're trying to stop the spread of the virus. So we want to do our part, and we close down. And I guess right now, as far as the specific my art career, it initially was some of the cancellation of the events that I had booked for the next following months. I do a lot of charity work in the community, and I also do light paintings for weddings and private events, and that just started happening, I would say, probably last month. And I was a little bit surprised because I wasn't as I didn't know as much as the virus. I knew it was happening in China and in other places, and I knew it was also potentially coming to the States. But yeah, one of my clients canceled the event, and I was a little bit surprised. But then, as getting bigger and bigger in the States, I had another event, a big event that I've done for the last couple of years here in Houston with a big charity. They canceled. That's probably at the end of April. And the very last one this week was a workshop that I do with the kids of the MDA in the summer camp, and that was also canceled. And that's actually all the way till June, July. So yeah, we're definitely we have to adapt, basically.
And I suppose, is Nick available?
Hey, I'm here.
Can you hear me okay?
Nick?
I can hear you now.
Right.
Okay, cool. So
good,
sorry,
good.
we're gonna backtrack a little, if you don't mind, y'all. I'm gonna go ahead and get Nick cued into the discussion. So Nick, could you just give a really quick introduction of yourself and give an overview of your usual practice?
Sure, absolutely. Good to see everybody. My name is Nick Gaitan. I'm a local and touring musician, full-time. My practice is either playing gigs or doing lots of things in the realm of music, in the entertainment world, from all sides of it, from event production to performing on stage to booking, just about anything that hubs out of these venues and places where live music is a part of the business.
What do you play, and how long have you been doing that?
I've been a musician for 20 years now. The last, I'd say, about 15 have been absolutely full time. I'm a bassist first, a songwriter, and I also play guitar. Bass is usually what I tour on, and that's been my main instrument for the 20 years that I've been playing out live.
And then, can you talk a little bit about your usual practice and what the normal was? Like, could you talk about the different types of income streams that you've had from your art and creative practice, or maybe totally unrelated to your creative practice?
Sure. The main thing for me would be playing bass in different bands that I'm hired. I play bass for Nikki Hill, who is a touring musician. I've been in her band about 3 years now. Before that, I was full-time bassist in Billy Joe Shaver's band, he's a country legend, a Hall of Famer. I was running around doing tours with him most of the time for 7 years before I joined Nikki Hill. Nikki's been keeping me, that's my main gig, and that's what keeps me the busiest. When I get home, I do local shows, playing my original music and doing shows around here in the venues that I'm used to playing when I started off in the scene. Also, as things, when I do come back off the road and say didn't plug in a bunch of shows, or if it's a slower part of the year, like for musicians, sometimes January, February, I pick up other gigs. Like some of my skill sets involve automotive work. Some of them involve handiwork around the house, things that I have the tools to do and that I'm confident in doing that are going to be done effectively and correctly. I engage in those type of activities and jobs. So automotive, handiwork, lessons, guitar lessons, bass lessons, things like that. And I used to also do some tutoring for the community college.
Yo, no, that's awesome. And so now, getting closer to where we are in the conversation, but how has the COVID-19 crisis impacted your income streams? What ways have you had to change, or rather stop, change, and adapt those practices?
Well, I have to say that as soon as I started to hear that the bars were going to close, this this affected me directly. So I sort of put out a call to work on my social media pages because I'm very involved in my network there, and like a lot of us, some know a lot of these people on, let's say, Facebook. Know a lot of these people personally, have worked with lots of these people or crossed paths in some real world sort of way, as opposed to just, hey, there's somebody right there, let me click on them. So when I made a call for work, I made a list of things that I could do. And this was what I felt was right on time. Looking back a couple of weeks, this was right on time as like I said, as the bars, we knew they were going to shut down. Well, bars that's where musicians get a lot of their work for these live music venues. I just said, this is happening no matter what. And as an artist, as we sort of touched on, it's one of those things that we always have other supplemental incomes, because art is not all the time. Our paying gigs are not on all the time. They're not just constantly happening. So I picked up where I leave off a lot of the times when I come back to a slower part of the month, or a weekend that maybe I'm not going to be playing or didn't get booked. I signed up for that type of work. So the COVID-19 has definitely had a direct impact on me, but I sort of used my regular move in adapting to it early on to just make sure I can sort of improvise for the time. And but this sort of puts those other jobs into a higher gear, because I know I can do a lot of these on my own that are still in compliance with the healthy side of the rules that we're trying to all go by to keep distance and whatnot, but also at the same time not starving to death while I'm at it.
Very important, absolutely. And I mean, that's now that we're all caught up with Nick and everyone's kind of, we've got the context of what everyone's working with. The adaptation is something that we certainly want to highlight, and it's very important to us to feature creatives, to feature artists who have been, have these needs and have had to meet them in different ways. And so, starting with Dominique, what challenges have you run into, particularly regarding your craft and your creative practice? What challenges have you run into adapting them, and how have you overcome those issues? I know you're doing that, those videos, and so what issues have you run into doing that?
Well, my primary craft as a conductor only happened there's a concert going on. So, since all of our concerts have been canceled, my primary craft doesn't work. And so, um, coming up with the idea to do those lecture videos was a really good idea. I did one for the Discover E program called the Creative Engineer, and it went very well and had some really great traction. So I decided to do more of them. Well, it's a learning curve to figure out exactly how to record and edit all of these videos because I'm doing it by myself. And so I'm learning Final Cut Pro as we go through this. And I had to learn how to use a green screen, and I had to learn how to sync up audio and video together. And I had to learn all of these transitions that you have to do in these videos, like live text and images into the videos. So I've been learning an entire new set of skills as we go through to make this all happen, which I think is interesting because it's nice to be able to learn something new through a new artistic practice.
Yeah, one of the past conversations we've had on this series, Alicia Lawyer with Roco actually said that now it's like musicians or those in the music world now kind of have to consider the visual element, or at least like the right how one presents, or rather like the visuals that go along with the music. And yeah, and I think that's a really cool way to kind of like go into that, is like, right, like how do you curate those images, how do you curate the video, the quality, and that's really important. And how's that been going? Did you overcome those challenges?
Well, a lot of guess and test, a lot of just going ahead and jumping in full speed and just doing it. Um, there's a lot of practice that you can do by practicing shooting videos and practice cutting things, but the best practice you can do is actually going out and doing it finally. And so I decided that it was better for me to produce these videos, even though they weren't perfect, than wait at home and wait for it to be perfect. So I decided to start a new art practice through these videos. Every art practice is an ongoing struggle to being your best self. And so all of these videos, every single time I do one, I get better at it. And so I'm really excited to see how much better I get in the next couple months doing these videos weekly.
That's great. That's a really great way to put that. Very inspiring. Thank you. Uh, Edgar, same question. What challenges have you run into regarding your particular craft as a visual artist, as an abstract painter, and maybe some ways that you've adapted or overcome those challenges?
Well, one of the main, I guess, the main things right now, it's people want to see the art in person. It's one of those things that you want to feel and touch and see the actual colors, because I feel like sometimes with the pictures doesn't translate the best. And yeah, I mean, but I did learn with one of the projects that I did in the beginning of the year, going back to a little bit of the question that I missed from from the last question. My answer is I started doing this, I guess, last year. It's paying attention to my web presence, just doing as much as I can to elevate my social media as well. And in the beginning of the year, I did a project that was called 31 Days of Inspiration, where I basically created a painting every single day for the month of January, and that was a recurring thing that I committed to, and I created a piece every single day, and I posted it on social media. So that definitely helps a lot to to be in a way prepared to where we're going and where I'm at with being more like virtual, because I was posting every single day, and I created a website specifically for those pieces, and it helped to reach different people as well. And most of my works are in large scale, so I feel like it's a little bit harder than to sell. So I also I'm working on launching a new project that is called Sense on Joy, where I will be creating some small works on a canvas, and that's something that we'll be doing for the next following weeks. So yeah. And also,
And how are you?
in regards of, I'm sorry. So in regards to
No, go ahead, please.
presentation, I'm also working on launching a project this week where I will be doing a virtual show online, and it's gonna be up for the whole month of April, since we gotta get creative this times, and right now we can't go to gallery spaces, you can't leave your house. I just thought of thinking of ways to still get to people and also continue doing the things that I love the most, which is creating art. And a lot of times people are asking, I do a lot of live paintings for charity and whatnot, and people always ask me to, how do I get to see you doing that? Well, I mean, right now it's that time where you'll get to see my show that I'm creating that will be virtual, where you're gonna see a lot of my newest works, and you can also purchase them online, as well as it'll be a kickoff with the live painting. It's this upcoming Thursday. Again, I will share the link as well.
Great, thank you. Yeah, I mean that is really a really interesting perspective in terms of like the great thing about going to these shows is meeting the people in person and looking at the painting, and so I think that's a really cool way for you to have adapted. Finally, Nick, same question. What challenges have you run into, maybe regarding your particular circumstances and your particular craft? I know you're doing a lot of things, and so how have you kind of overcome those issues?
I saw where, we see it every day. People are going on their phones, on their computers, and playing songs for the people, leaving Venmo links and things like that. As common as those are, and you want to sort of reach, you want to reach something that is going to sound good and look good, but you're also using what you have. Again, like, that skill set, as we're learning, as we're adapting, is one thing. So if one person is, we're learning Final Cut, or we're learning GarageBand, or we're trying to put songs together, things like that. I was approached by Discovery Green first about doing a concert before they asked us to stay home and work safe. And I said, well, this is great. Let me get my first concert done through them, and then I can try something afterwards and come up with other ideas. That was a success, because the video, just through their network, and of course my friends and supporters that are sharing, that video has reached 10,000 views, which is a huge blessing, because when we added our Venmo links, which was a smart thing to do, that was very effective. So supporters from all over were dropping a tip in the bucket, so to speak. And
Okay.
the other thing, so now that I've done that one, and it did pull in some income just from people that wanted to support, and I'm so grateful for that. But the next thing is to create another concert and I like keeping the numbers small, again, because we don't want to crowd a room and put anybody in danger. You know, everybody's health matters here. So I'm going as a two-piece band, and my next show I will do pre-recorded in an isolated space where again the room's empty, other than the very essential people to be there. And I know that word's been used so much lately, but I'm talking about the cameraman or woman and the musicians that are going to be part of the show. That's my next plan, because the side work is also cutting out too, because we're supposed to stay home. I'm going to stay home as much as I possibly can. I mean, I made a grocery run today, and I have a feeling that's about all I'm going to do for the rest of the week, and everything else is going to have to be remote communication and projects around here, you know, just around things I needed to do at the house in the first place. But I definitely plan on doing a few more shows while we're here. And if this is another month that we might or might not be following suit, you know, and staying in the cutoff being another month, then we really do have to just keep adapting to the situation and, you know, using what technology we do have. I mean, at this point, I'm not completely equipped with a whole lot to do a lot of the things that I would like to do in an ideal world, but we're not in an ideal situation as it is. We're just kind of hanging on. I mean, I'm even entertaining the idea of digging up an old VHS camera to then attach to a digital interface to make that a digital video. And you know what? That's gonna work. That's gonna work for me if I can get the sound right. You know, of course we're doing what we can, but I also would hope that I could reach some sort of quality that makes it able for our audience to enjoy just the same.
Yeah, that's a really great point to bring up, and this idea of like, yeah, ideally you would have this recording equipment, you would have this quality camera, you would have this quality microphone, but yeah, the thing is that it just, in my experience, all this just happens so fast, and you know, maybe some people are just like, oh yeah, just slap a camera up there and do your thing, but it's like, no, it's actually a bit more complex than that. And I think kind of that adaptation is taking a minute for some people to do. And so I think that's a really great point of like just using what you have. And so I think that would be really cool if you can get that VHS camera working.
You know, I agree.
So good luck.
Yeah, thank you. No, and it's awesome because as artists, we are some of the best people to adapt in a situation because we are used to things happening out of the blue. Everybody knows it. So I'm sure everybody can appreciate that here. And as that learning curve, I mean, some of these things are going to be drag and drop and make it happen because that's what we do. This is the skill we have. This is probably our first and best skill. So I'm as careful as I'm being, I'm very confident in moving forward in this time.
Yeah. Does anybody else want to chime in on that before I ask the next question? Or no. All right. So next question in regards to this adaptation of having to move from your usual practice into maybe something you've never done before or something you're still refining. How has your community responded? Your usual audience, your constituency, how have they responded? Dominique, please.
Well, my constituency has responded well. They're starved for some kind of musical connection. And so they really enjoy the videos that I produce because it's not only talking about a subject of some kind of musical interest, which is interesting, but it's also me doing it. And so I get the best response from videos that have like bloopers and outtakes on them, interestingly enough. So people like seeing the humanness throughout all of it.
Oh yeah.
Could you go a little bit more in detail of like, has this resulted in anything? Have you, how's the Patreon that you're using working well? And then, yeah, like how this is all working out for you. This, because I've seen kind of like, I'm a big fan of like these YouTube videos or like series where people go into topics or lectures, but it's using that video element. And so I guess like, how's that been working out for you? And Have you seen any results thus far?
Well, it's still very new to me. My second video is going out tomorrow. It's actually going out today for my Patreon supporters and tomorrow live on YouTube. And you can look it up by searching my name on YouTube. But the Patreon has been going well. Every single person that's on my Patreon currently, I know personally. So it's really great to see how these people in my constituency are really supporting me as an artist directly. And that's nice to see because it's just another way for them to support the arts, but they're also supporting me as an artist personally. Um, the Patreon hopefully will take off as I do more videos. Because I have a number of different levels that people can contribute on, and they get different things associated with my videos depending on what level they're on. And so I have most of my supporters on the lowest level of support, but it's still supporting me. So it's really important to understand that everyone that reaches out, supports me on Patreon, giving me a vote of confidence that they like what I'm producing. So that's really nice.
Thank you. Edgar, same question. How's your audience or your community or your constituency? Have they responded to the ways that you've been adapting?
They've been very supportive. I'm actually very thankful. Like I said, I started the project in the beginning of the year. That was the 31 days of inspiration, and now with this happening, I am adapting to the sense of joy, which is creating some small arts. And actually already sold a couple where you can buy it on my website and send it out to a friend or your loved one. And yeah, they've been very supportive. I think like right now, everybody's going through a hard time. So my main focus is to stay focused in my craft, to do what I do best, which is creating art, but then as well sharing it with the world, sharing it with all my supporters and followers, people that we all need a little bit of inspiration right now. So every time I post an existing painting, I just said brighten up your day, because right now we need that little bit of happiness in our life. So, and also to me, their likes and a few comments here and there that actually mean a lot, because I feed on from that, and it makes me want to continue sharing and doing what I love to do, which is creating art.
Yeah, and I think that's a really great point in terms of like when you have that one-on-one interaction, maybe in person, you might get that compliment of someone being like, "Oh, thank you for that work," or "that was great."
Right.
But now you have something that's like, I don't want to say quantified, but you can actually like kind of see that, and like you can then also pay that forward and do that same work. Um,
Right.
in regards to maybe how you're adapting, or now you're maybe playing more into the digital platform, have you gotten any new fans? Have you gotten a new audience that maybe you wouldn't have reached before?
Like I said, I the from the small works that I'm selling, it's through some already existing clients, but you always got to think of ways that they will be given to a new person. So that's a opening the doors to potential future clients. So I'm always excited about that. And yes, I mean, since I share my the launch of my virtual show, some of my clients share it with their friends, because this is a new experience for a lot of us. I mean, I've never done this before, where I do an actual art show online, and since we can't leave our house in this moment, and you can just grab your phone and social media, you can see it through Facebook and Instagram, and you will actually feel like you're there without leaving your home. So hopefully that will reach out to a lot of new fans and new collectors in the future. But for the meantime, I'm just grateful for everyone that has been sharing my show this starting this Thursday and kick off with the live painting. So yes.
That's awesome. Thank you. Nick, same question. How is your community, your perhaps audiences, your constituencies, how have they responded to the way that you're adapting or maybe these new projects that you're doing? I'm sorry, Nick. I don't know if you're muted. Oh, my.
Oh, let me see.
Oh, you're good.
Hang
You're
on.
good now.
Hang
Sorry.
on. Okay, cool. If y'all can hear me, let me know. Thank you. So, support and love completely from the beginning. See, my first reaction when the bars were closing and the venues were closing down, I keep saying bars, I know, but all of these music venues, from theaters to everything else, when they closed down, my first reaction was not to jump on and do a concert. I said, this, I'm going to have to plan a little bit better. So when I put out a post about all the other work I did, the different labor work and stuff, um, that same group that supports me on stage supports me off stage, and the communication and the videos and the sharing that we usually do, like, this is something that I feel that we've indirectly trained for a while now, with as fun and involved as social media is. I mean, I know some of us aren't sitting there doing videos every day, but at this moment it was easy to turn on and do a click, or at least to tell people, because we've gone from flyering cars and windows to doing everything on social media now. So that audience of mine, that constituency, has been nothing but encouraging and moral support and financial support, for that matter, whenever it came to actually have something to offer them. Because I didn't start a GoFundMe. I didn't do any of these things, except when I did have something that they could watch live, for example, the Discovery Green concert. That was such a good thing, because with that, you saw the amount of shares. I saw the amount of shares coming through, and people saying, "Hey, my buddy Nick, he's performing. So y'all make sure and log in and check him out." And what the cool thing about it being pre-recorded was that I could be there in the comments section whenever it was actually airing live. Me and my partner there with the accordion, Robert Rodriguez, who's a longtime music partner. So we're having the same experience like so many of us artists are, all across every media and medium, and everything. The group of people from all over that have been with me all this time are definitely coming through. I feel the love and I see it. I see people reaching out. I mean, we're all checking on each other, man. How you hanging? Is everything cool? Do you need anything? Of course, acknowledging again, and I repeat, all of these things that we have to keep in consideration. I can't just go over to your house and, I can't just go hug my friend and go hang out with them. There's certain things that we're doing. There's a different protocol right now. It's not what it was a few days ago. It's not what it was a few weeks ago. And it's going to continue changing. So we're just working with it, rolling with the punches, but also staying positive, being calm. And while we're at it, we're still checking on each other through social media like we usually do. I always make a joke. Before all of this, I say, well, this social media is how bad friends keep up. We laugh at each other's comments, or we'll do this or that. But now I'm like, hey, this stuff, man, we're connected through this social media. And I do believe that we've trained for this moment indirectly. But I can also appreciate the downtime that has, in a world that moves so fast. This is one point where the world has, for lack of better words, has just stopped completely. And it's also allowing us to learn new things, to pick up new ways of communication. Also, it's a way for me to relearn good habits and things like that. That'll make me better when I come out the gate from all this madness, and my audience. You talk about paying it forward, and that's a lovely concept in life that we should all, grasp just in general. But I swear there's going to be a moment where I can then pay forward what I've been given, the love I've been given, and I started to think of it in terms of my next virtual show. For example, can I get one of my artist friends, my visual artist friends, can I get one of them to maybe dress the scenario, to dress the scene behind me and put that art for sale? How do I help out somebody else because I've been helped out? And of course I'm going to continue to need support, but also how do we bring this in? Maybe somebody says, yeah, I'll leave a tip for Nick and Robert playing music. But man, that painting in the background, that is something else. Is that for sale? As a matter of fact, it is. You know, contact the artist, and it integrates all of that. And then maybe if we have sponsors from some of the local, I don't know, let's just say a brewery or something like that, where we're still mixing. There's a it's a sort of product placement. We are all sort of becoming television broadcasters in some sort of form to keep afloat. And I think it's the time to use our imaginations as creative people and just go for it. You know, what we don't have a lot to lose when we're just trying to do positive things. And again, in compliance with how we should be acting in this situation, as far as how we adapt to the situation, then there's so much we can accomplish, and also just with each other, bouncing ideas off of each other. This discussion alone, I'm already taking notes because I'm around other creative people that are living and breathing the same experience right now, which is awesome.
Absolutely. Thank you. So kind of going into the next part, which is kind of like we're going towards the end game here. Dominique, I know you already mentioned your Patreon and maybe even given us like a really good primer about it, but what technologies, softwares, platforms are you using to present and generate that content that you're talking about and generate income?
Well, Patreon is a big portion of it. Patreon is a platform where you can tip or pay the creators that create the content that you enjoy. And so not only do I use the Patreon for my own art practice, I also support other artists on Patreon. And they're generally other YouTube creators as well. And so my Patreon is devised into 4 levels: the $1, the $3, the $5, and the $10. And depending on what level you're on, you get different aspects of the video production before it goes live. So like if you're at the $10 level, you get your bloopers early. I sent out my bloopers for the video that's going up tomorrow last week. And so and depending on what level you're on, you get scripts and redo and YouTube playlists that I put together for each one of these videos. And so it's a great way to enrich your experience of the video content through Patreon. I also use YouTube, obviously, because that's where my videos are hosted. The YouTube algorithm is pretty good to me. It is a niche subject, so it's not as big as, say, doing like a coronavirus video. I'm not going to get 1 million views on one video, but that's fine. I'm not looking for mass consumption. I'm looking for people that really enjoy what I do, and I'm telling stories about music that I find important, and so I'm looking for those people that enjoy that as well. I'm also using social media, so Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, of course. I usually tend to favor Instagram because I like posting pictures. There are lovely pictures of my cats on Instagram right now because they're my administrative assistants who continue to sleep on the job. But using my communities on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook is a really great way to put my work out there. And so for the launch of each video, I go live on Instagram and watch it with people. And I post the video to Facebook so that way all of my Facebook people can see it as well. So I'm using all the social medias as you go through as one complete social media package, really.
Wow. Yeah, nice. Thank you for that. Edgar, what technologies, what softwares, what platforms have you been using to present and generate income? When you talked about your painting a day for January, what were some softwares, some technology? What helped you out best in accomplishing some of that digital presence?
Right. I mean, my main thing I would say it's for me, Instagram worked the best as a visual artist. I mean, I can post pictures of sneak peeks of the process, and also installation of my works, as well as the final composition. And like right now, as you can see in the video, is the project that I'm currently working, where selling small works to send to your loved ones. So yeah, and also my website is operated by Squarespace, where Squarespace is it's a website, a template website, where I have all my works, and then a description of my bio and everything I do, as far as my charity involvement in the community, but also the e-commerce, where you can purchase the small works that I'm selling at this moment, or if you're interested for any works as well, there's a way to contact me directly for a specific piece of art. So, but yeah, Instagram has been my main thing, but I also use Facebook as well. I have a page for my artwork where I'm constantly posting, which is a good thing about right now. You can link one thing to another. I can post it on Instagram and it gets directed to Facebook, and I don't have to post it to different things, but it gets shared to all the people that follow me, and they get to share it with their friends sometimes. And yeah, I mean, definitely social media, it's very important right now, as well as it's very important to have, I mean, this is the time where you can get very creative, as well as do the things that you've been wanting to do for a while, where which that sometimes, where it's like you push some of the most important things, which is your website, you just push it to the side because we're too busy in the moment. But like right now is the time where to sit down, write your goals, and say, and just work on the things that you've been wanting to do. And like I said, the website is very important, because that's how people find you when they're Googling. They Googling, for, in my case, they Google artists, and it takes them to my website, or live painting, and it takes them to my website. So yeah, I mean, the website is very important, as well as social media, Instagram. I post as much as I can, especially right now. Yeah, and this time. So.
Yeah, so Dominique spoke a little bit about Patreon. Is there any kind of like income raising, or like any kind of like processing software that you prefer, or one that's just been easiest for you to use for when people want to buy your paintings?
Right now, I'm not on Patreon, but I mean, Dominic brought it up, and I'm thinking of like a way to maybe include it in my process. We're all getting inspired from one another. Nick is mentioning about art and music, so it's just right now is the time to be creative. And like I said, I'm not on Patreon as in yet, but if someone is interested in purchasing a piece of art, like the small works that I'm offering right now with the project that is called Send Some Joy, you can go into the website, and it directs you to the e-commerce, where you can purchase it directly, and then I can send it to you if you're interested in a larger scale, which unfortunately right now we're not open in the studio. They can send me a direct message through my contact, and we can either communicate through there and figure out a way to meet in the future, or maybe I'm thinking of different ideas where it's just not the curbside, where you, like when you go to the grocery store, in my case would be car drop-off painting where I'll drop it off right in front of your house without having to deal directly with the person. But it's just right now these times are making us and pushing us to be very creative. And as crazy as it sounds, if somebody's reaching out to me that want me to bring this piece of art, I will drop it off in your house, and you don't even have to see me. We can figure out a way to make the payment work. Venmo, it's something that I used in the past, or yeah, I mean, call and we can ring you up. You know, it's just it's the time to be creative and figuring out a way. Like they say, what doesn't kill you make you stronger, and I'm a firm believer in that. I feel like I personally, when I'm in a situation where I feel stranded, I become more creative and just think of ways to make it happen. I mean, as Nick mentioned, like we're made for this. We're always, I mean, I don't want to say we're always struggling, but we're always when situations like that happens, we're the first ones to get affected, because I would say like art is not a necessity; it's a luxury. So right now I'm trying to figure out ways to stay out there. People see what I do, continue sharing, and also inspiring people, and hopefully they can, once all this passes and we get back to selling art, and I'm doing that right now as well. So
Cool, thank you. Nick, uh, what technology, softwares, platforms have you been using to present and generate that income?
So when this thing happens, or when I promote, let's say on a normal day before this whole pandemic, I look for the most interaction in which platform I'm going to use. Being that Facebook, as sometimes it seems, I don't know if it's out of fashion with certain age groups or what. I mean, obviously all of us are talking about Facebook and Instagram. These two are very powerful for me. This is powerful for me with live local shows. This is powerful for me whenever I'm meeting people overseas, when I'm touring with Nikki Hill, or when I was on the road with Shaver. They are tried and true, and it seems to have worked, and it's even seemed to work in some last minute situations where I needed something, because I use it frequently, even for something as important as a show I needed to get the word out on, or an announcement of missing gear, or this, you know, we hear it all the time, bands getting equipment stolen or something like that. It's a quick turnaround time. So I used Instagram and I'm using Instagram and Facebook, but they are also tied into my Twitter, tied into my Pinterest, tied into everything else, because they just have made it easy that way to hub out. And they, of course, that was done a long time ago. But those two are helping me out a lot. The e-commerce is always helpful whenever we're trying to, because at first it was like everybody went from cash to needing a Square card reader, you see, and then now that these cashless and cardless transactions happen, those are very helpful. Now, let's say I don't have any physical merchandise, as much as I wish I did. I mean, I have a CD right above my thumb here, and I'm down to like maybe 4 or 5 left of that at all, because I've sold all of them in the past years. That's an old release anyway. However, I do have my original music, that album, plus my first release, self-released albums on Spotify and all of the other platforms. That is one thing that allows us to just jump right in. And since the way of buying music for so many people, or the way of listening, is streaming, that's the one method, that's the one way that everybody's using right now. And that's helpful, because now you have platforms like Bandcamp and these other ones that are giving the artist, I don't know if it's, I think I'm reading on some of them, 100% of the proceeds from album sales. So for me, I'm saying, cool, I will post this along along those lines for my new listeners. So if they download something, you get that stream of income coming in. And that's a nice passive one, because you put it up there. If people listen and care to buy, just fine. Or they can continue to contribute through that digital video, that concert, the first concert that I put on at Discovery Green. they can still watch that. And in the comments, there are links to my e-commerce sites. So e-commerce, social media, and streaming services for a musician like myself, this works out. But of course, that goes across the board, from the visual artists, from the composers, from just everybody. I mean, just from somebody asking for help if they need it. We're all sort of using the same channels, and this is one common thing between all of us that has allowed us to somehow keep in touch and to the best of our abilities keep afloat.
Absolutely. All right. So, I mean, I always have more questions, but I mean, it's been such a great discussion. I don't want to run a little bit, I don't want to run too much over time out of respect for your time and the viewers' time. But kind of the last question that I have. So, how can others support you in your work? If you could shout out your website, any links, any projects you got coming up. Starting with Dominique, please.
Sure. So you can support me on Patreon. Just go to Patreon and Dominique Royem. You can also follow me on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. It's all Dominique Royem. And you can go to my website at dominiqueroyem.com to see some of my more traditional cooking videos and things like that.
Awesome. Edgar, please. Any social media, website, projects you got coming up?
Yes, you can follow me at www.medinaedgar.com. That's my website where you can view all my works and you can learn about me and you can learn about all the stuff that I do in the community as well. And you can purchase the small works that I'm selling at the moment, which is the 6x6 original canvas, and sent to a friend of or loved one. As well, you can follow me on Instagram and Facebook at Edgar Medina STUDIO, where I share all my works, all the projects that I'm working on. And you can also attend the show that I'm doing this Thursday at 8 p.m. It's going to be a live show, virtual show on Facebook and Instagram. And actually, that's going to be the kickoff of the show with the live painting. If you've never seen a live painting before, this is an opportunity you can share with your friends. And yeah, follow me on my social media at Edgar Medina STUDIO.
And then finally, Nick, yes, any social media handles, website, projects coming up that people should know about?
Okay, cool. So you see my name on the screen. It's Nick Gaitan, and you can search on my Facebook, my Instagram. I believe my Instagram is Nicholas Gaitan, but that's a uncommon last name, uncommon enough to where I'm probably going to be one of the few that pop up if you search Nick Gaitan, and you'll see a picture of me. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. At the time, I've had a lapse in my website, so I'm going to try to fix that. Well, I guess what's a better time than now? Follow me on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Nick Gaitan, Nick Gaitan Music. I have an artist page. I have a personal page. They all lead to me. And that's where you'll find announcements for my next, my next bit of concerts, or how you can just reach me if any of these other things that I do interest you, lessons, or any of the work listed on there. All of my information is current, and I'm available to help, and I'm available to communicate with whoever is reaching out, because that's who I am, and that's what I do.
Amazing. So thank you all for such an amazing discussion. Good luck with everything. Hope you get all the community, the money, the support that you need. So again, thanks, and I'll see you whenever. Please don't be a stranger.
Thank you. Thank you a lot for Fresh Arts for having
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Appreciate
Bye.
it. Thank you.
So yeah, on that note, again, please tune in this Thursday. We'll have another lineup of great guests, great discussion. If you kind of are running into an issue where you don't have a website, or maybe the website's lapsed and there's just not the income that you're looking forward to having, you're more than welcome to go to freshartsregistry.org to create a profile with us. that you can link to, that people can find you, that you can link your social media to. You can have an image gallery, a video gallery, your CV, your statements, what have you. That is completely free. So please go to freshartsregistry.org to create a profile. And then also feel free to tap into our other resources at fresharts.org, where you can find these other videos that we have been doing. We've done some really great other series and conversations. On the screen now, you have a survey that you can fill out where you can tell us what you're up to, if you have any digital projects coming up that we can share, that we can let other people know, just so we can have some more eyes on you, the artist, the creative that we want to support. That link will be posted below in the comments. So please submit any tips, submit your events, let us know how we're doing. Please stay in contact. Again, this is Reyes Ramirez with Fresh Arts. Good luck, everyone, and stay safe. So we want to kind of give a shout out to Ben Doyle, who, again, is doing the amazing work behind the scenes in regards to making all this look amazing, look great. So that's Ben Doyle with Bend Productions. And I also want to give a big thank you to my colleague, Angela Carranza, who's in the office nearby to me, who's posting all the comments and the links and who's setting all these amazing things up. So again, big thank you to her. You see my face, but she is the brains. So thank you, everyone, and I'll see you next time.